create my own path, right? So, all right. We will get started in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ayo, welcome back to Luck Management, always brought to you by Charm ND. And Luckies, we have a special episode, an episode that I am so excited for all of you to listen to. I am joined today by an Amazon #1 bestseller of Where the Birds Sing, a Notre Dame graduate, a man that's been in and out of many different businesses through Boeing, and he is through and through Notre Dame. He's got his Notre Dame shirt on right now. Jack Sacco, welcome to Luck Management.
Thanks, Carter. It's great to be here. I appreciate the opportunity to visit with you.
Yeah, this is going to be awesome. And this conversation is truly what Notre Dame is all about. I got connected to you through Lisa Kelly. I got connected to you through all these people at Notre Dame that absolutely thought you would be wonderful for the podcast. And
thank you.
Really, really cool to be able to sit down with you today.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that.
So the first thing that I love to do on this podcast quickly, and then we'll get into all the pleasantries, is just talk about this idea of luck management. I started this podcast about a year and a half ago, almost coming up on 2 years now. And there's this basis around what is luck management. And the way that I've kind of built it out and the way that I see it is that we are all drawn and thrust into these situations where it could be good luck, it could be bad luck, but it is the hard work that you're putting in either before those situations or the hard work and determination that you have after those situations.
Yeah.
And so this idea of luck is the luck of the Fighting Irish, but also it is how you take in and day out to manage your luck, to get yourself more lucky. The braver you are, the luckier you get. And the first question I want to ask you is, what do you think when I say luck management?
I think work. I think hard work. That's what I think, because we're all, as you said it perfectly, we're all thrust into situations. And so many people, you've heard it before. It's not necessarily what happens to you. It's what you think it means, how you interpret it, how you internalize it, and how you respond to that. So a situation could happen that would devastate one person and would propel another person to greatness. And it could be the exact same situation. I have an actual couple of people that I know that are twins. They're identical twins. They grew up the exact same way. One of them, it meant she wanted to live her life, in a sort of victorious way, and the other one, it meant living in despair. And they experienced everything exactly the same. And when I asked each one of them, "How did you get to be like you are?" they both gave me the same answer. It's because of the way I was raised, because of these particular circumstances. And so, in anything, I mean, I actually don't know anything. I have an engineering degree, but I don't know anything about sailing at all. I've watched sailboats, and one day I was watching the sailboats, and I noticed, I was kind of wondering, how are they all going in different directions? Because there's only one wind going in one direction. And so it's how you set that sail and where you want to go, where you decide you want to go. And you could be the quote unquote luckiest person in the world and be a complete failure, because you don't manage it right. You don't manage it correctly.
Right.
So I think of luck management. I think of hard work, no matter what.
I love that meaning. I'm adding that to the idea behind luck management. And there is that feeling is that you first need to believe that you're going to do well, but you can't just rest on your laurels. You can't just say it's going to be good. You have to put in that work day in and day out to build your luck. And I've listened to a couple studies or on podcasts or talked to people, and when they wake up in the morning and they say, I'm going to have a good day, the exponential feeling that you're going to have is things go right. You start to look for those opportunities. You want the best things to happen. You wake up in the morning and you say it's going to be a bad day. I'll tell you what, you're not going to have a good day.
Yeah, my brother is an official for NASCAR. He lives in Charlotte, North Carolina, and so he's an official for
Oh,
NASCAR. And he
nice.
goes to every race, and he's, and I've talked to the drivers, and one of the things they told me is, one of them said, "Hey, I'll take you around the track, and I'll race around and let you see what it feels like." And my personal question to him was, "Well, you're not going to hurt me, are you? You're not going to hit the wall?" He said, "No, trust me, I'm not going to hurt myself, so I'm not going to hurt you." But he said, they all told me something. They all told me something that's very interesting. They said, "You're going to go in the direction you look, and if you look at the wall, you need to know where the wall is. But if you look at the
Hmm.
wall, you will hit the wall." And
Wow.
I found that in my own life. I actually was up at Notre Dame once. And it was during the winter. I was visiting some friends there, and a friend of mine took me over to a horse stable. And there are some up around Notre Dame, and they took me, and it was
Right.
indoors because it was snowing too much outside. And I know
Yep.
nothing about horses. I mean, I really don't. I know as much about about horses as I do about race car driving and skiing, and which I know nothing
Fair
about.
enough.
But and sailing. But I got on this horse, and the instructor knew that I didn't know what I was doing. And I asked him, I said, "What do I do? Do I?" He said, "Don't let the horse go into the wall. Of course, the horse will
Yeah.
scrape up against the wall. It's like the horse
Oh, yeah.
feels good for the horse. Don't let it do that because it'll hurt you." And I said, "Well, how do I
That's
keep the
your
horse
leg
from?"
right there.
That's my
Yeah.
leg. I said, "How do I keep the horse from doing that?" He said, "Don't look at the wall." I said, "Okay, so do I lean? Do I pull? Do I?" He said, "No, just look where you want the horse to go." And I thought, that's
Wow.
how does I'm behind the horse's face. How does the horse know where I'm looking?
How does it know?
How will it know? So he said, "Okay." So he was walking right next to me, and he said, we walked. The horse started getting closer to the wall, closer and closer to the wall. And the instructor was walking right on the other side. He said, "Jack, where's the horse going?" I said, "Into the wall." He said, "What are you looking at?" I said, "The wall." He said, "Look where you want the horse to go." At that point, I didn't have a choice. Another few
Yeah.
steps, I wasn't going to hit the wall. And I just looked over. And when I
Turn
did,
around.
yeah, when I looked over to my left, it just naturally leaned to my left. I pulled to my all the movement was that direction, and the horse just followed. And I noticed wherever I would look, I would turn, and the horse knew it could figure out what I was doing. And so I learned a valuable lesson that day, not just about horses, but about life, that you will go in the direction you're looking. And if you wake up in the morning and you say this is going to be a bad day, everything bad's going to happen, it will, because you're looking at the wall. So I
Right.
always think this way: if somebody said to you, "I'll give you $1 million," that probably make you happy. I mean, ever make anybody happy? Like, "I'll give you $1 million, no
Hmm.
strings. Here's $1 million." But if they said, "I'll give you $50 million, no strings. There's only one string. You won't wake up in the morning." Would you accept the money? Most people say no. So
Right.
that's worth $50 million. Why don't you wake up thinking, this is I would choose this waking up over $50 million in cash. So
Yep.
I think most of us would. So let's go about the day that way. It's we're gonna come against the laws of physics. We're gonna come against the laws of people. We're gonna come against irritations. It's about being victorious. That's what Notre Dame is about. Overcoming
That
the
is
odds.
what Notre Dame is about. And that is such a profound metaphor. I mean, yeah, I've heard that once before. It's like you could have anything you could want in the world, but you don't wake up tomorrow. 10 times out of 10, how are you choosing that? You can't. Like,
Yeah,
sure, I care about my family in the future, but w- the beauty of waking up and seeing that every next day, optimism is the only realism. At the end of the
that's
day,
it. That's it.
I am, that is luck management to its core because something could go wrong and you can look at all the signs in the world. Things are cyclical. You look at the stock market. Oh, it always goes up. No, there's dips and you have to be able
That's
to
right.
take those, learn from those and become what you want. And I think that goes a lot with goal setting too. A lot of people say, I want this, but they don't take the steps to say, okay, this is how I get there, or this is my 30, 60, 90-day plan, or where do I want to be in a year? I
Right.
am an affirmation king. My mom, when I was a kid, she used to write quotes up on the wall. Whenever I was in the bathroom, there'd be quotes there. It was, you are what you repeatedly do. Excellence, therefore, is not an act, but a habit. You have to
That's right.
build that energy and that repetition.
Yeah, and actually, now that you're saying it, it reminds me that really the phrase luck management is to me is about a championship mindset because a champion doesn't necessarily win every round, but
Yep.
he wins the last one. It's like a tennis player. You don't have to win every point; just win the last point. And if you do that,
Yep.
you're the champion. So things are gonna happen. And I'll tell you something that I've learned in life is that frustration is part of the process.
Hmm.
Frustration is part of the things will happen and they'll frustrate you if you think that they won't happen. And then what happens is we tend to get frustrated because we're frustrated. But if you just understand
Yes.
frustration is part of the process, hey, we didn't play well in that game, or we didn't play well in that series, or our quarterback threw an interception, or I messed up the meeting, or whatever it is. Okay, well, that happens. But you get up one more time. I mean, we have that in our legacy. We have that in our nation as victors. We have it in
Yep.
our as I'm Catholic. I think a lot of people in Notre Dame are. That we have it in our faith. Our
Yes.
founder got up one more time, then he got knocked down.
Hmm.
So
What is that
champion.
saying? It's like 70 times 7. Like forgive somebody seven times and then multiply that by 70. You
Yeah,
should be able to take a bad situation or a frustration. But I will say that comes with time because a lot of
yes,
people, they will just give up very immediately or very quickly. And you see all the amazing people that maybe win an award and they say, keep going. And those are the people that kept going. I
you keep
appreciate
going.
that so much.
You keep going. Yeah, you keep doing it because what's the alternative? I mean, honestly, what I've
Yeah.
found in life as I go through in different areas and different parts of the country and different, I deal with a lot of different people in different types of work and types of professions, and some very, very successful people. And first of all, you probably heard this that you kind of become the people you're around. If you're around a bunch of
Yes.
losers, you'll be a loser. If you're around a bunch of
Yeah.
winners, you'll be a winner. And just because that's who you learn from, and that's what you learn. But one of the things I noticed is that most people in life, and I don't know if it's something that just is a recent phenomenon, but I notice it, is that most people seem to want to give and only give about 30-40% effort on anything. And
Yeah.
yeah, there are times when you just don't want to give a lot of effort. I understand that. But if you give
Yeah.
100% on anything, 100%, you're only competing with 1% of the people out there.
Hmm.
Because most everybody's stopping at about 40% max, and then just
Yeah.
flipping on YouTube or watching a cat video. So
Hmm. You can't lose until you give up. And
yeah,
that 100% is something. Sometimes you need to monitor your body and know who you are and be like, you know what, today I may not be able to give it. But you're able to understand that maybe tomorrow you can, or the next day.
yeah,
And we were talking about it a little bit earlier, so I want to shift into this. Our
yeah,
love of Notre Dame,
yeah.
football season, play like a champion sign. They hit that every day. It doesn't mean that you're going to win every game. Of course, I expect us to win every game this
Of
season.
course, I do. Me too. Yeah,
But I want to talk about this upcoming season and your experience with Notre Dame. Can you tell me a little bit about, well, we'll first start on the football season. What do you think?
this coming season.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm always the guy. I think like one of my I think I try I think I how do I say this? I kind of think like Frank Leahy. There's really no reason to lose. I mean,
I agree.
you're definitely not going to win them all. I mean, you can't. It's just kind of impossible. Somewhere
Hmm.
along the line, somebody's
Unless
going to
you're
beat you,
saving.
unless you're Saban. But I think Saban only had one or two undefeated seasons the
That's
whole
true.
time he was at Alabama. Maybe two, maybe one. I don't know. But he did. He would lose, but Saban was a champion. He know to come
Yeah.
back. I was at Notre Dame. I've had a long history with Notre Dame football because I've just been on earth a long time. And people say
Good
I
deal.
tell people say I went to the Rudy game. And they said that it was the game where they. I said no, I was actually at the game where Rudy
Yeah.
played. I was a sophomore. I was in the stadium, and
Oh my
so my
gosh, my
seat.
dad was there.
Really? There you go.
Yeah.
So I was, as a senior, it was the green jersey game with Joe Montana was our quarterback. Who,
No
by the way,
way.
a lot of people don't realize Joe Montana was the third string quarterback that year. He was the third string.
Really?
The first two guys got hurt, and we were, I think, trailing in a game against, if I could remember correctly, I think it was against Purdue. We were trailing, and we had already lost the game that year, and
Hmm.
we were trailing now, and the first two quarterbacks got hurt, like in successive plays. And the third string quarterback went in. His name was Joe Montana.
The rest is
And
history, huh?
the rest is history because he won that game and then he just started winning every game. And then just, that was a national championship year. But, having been around a long time, I think, Notre Dame, you have to think like a champion, which once again,
Yeah.
understand that when you lose, you've got to come back from that, and it's got to give you the opportunity to come back from that. I was at a game a few years ago, and it was Brian Kelly's first or second year. I can't remember. We played South Florida. You remember, and there was
Okay.
lightning and
Yeah,
all this.
yeah. It
Yeah,
was a
so
crazy day. Yeah.
it was crazy. They stopped the game twice because of lightning. They emptied the stadium, and people were, that was the purple face game where he started yelling and screaming, and his face got purple. And he said, "Can you?"
He
People were
still
saying,
does it today.
"Yeah." People said, "Can you believe the coach got so mad?" I said, "The coach, God tried to kill the team twice during that, and we still lost." So, but
Oh my
it was.
gosh.
I think it was during that game where we had gone down to like the 1 yard line and fumbled, and the other team had picked it up and returned it for a touchdown.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
I
remember
remember
at
that.
that game, my mindset was, okay, if I'm talking to the team, I'm telling them, this is great. This is perfect because now we can go out and we can show them. Well,
Hmm.
yes, that happened. We can't do anything about it, but now we can go out and we can show them what a champion
It
is.
regroup.
And we can say, you got lucky there, but we are going to make our luck and we're going to go down the field and we're going to score. We're going to get the ball, score again, score. But you know what happened instead? The team fell apart.
Yep.
And this
Yep.
happened twice that year. That same year, it happened another time where the team just fell apart. So there's a difference between, um, luck management and luck dismantlement. Like they
I
just
like that.
they just dismantled, at that point, and that's about mindset. And so,
Yep.
anyway, you asked about this year. I'm looking at the team. I never expected us to lose, but I
Me too. Yeah.
I think I'm looking at the schedule and looking at who we have, looking at who I love Marcus Freeman, looking at
I
the
love
coach,
Marcus Freeman.
and the coaches we have, the players who we have.
Denbrock coming back. Golden still is our defensive coordinator. We have a great quarterback that can run and throw the ball as good as Sam Hartman did last year. Improved wide receivers.
Yeah.
Our running back core got enough time last year. Our defense is strong in the backfield.
Strong.
We always got guys rushing the line. Our linemen are always there. We have Mitchell Evans coming back. And
That's right.
Marcus
Yeah.
Freeman's third year. So who else
That's
did
right.
it? Newt Rockne, Lou Holtz, all in their third year. Put
Era,
it together.
Dan
Era
Devine,
Parsons,
every one of them did it in their third year.
every single one of them. I'm feeling it this year.
So we could win them all. We could win them. It's just about mindset. It's about taking
Yep.
care of the first game and winning that one, and then getting on a roll, and then just winning it. I mean, every
Yep.
team's
I'm in
you got to
Houston.
win. Half the teams every week, half the teams win. Be one of those
Mhm.
teams.
I believe it. I'm in Houston, and Texas A&M is about an hour drive from here.
There you
And I'm a
go.
big part of the Notre Dame Club of Houston. I work with the membership club, and I work as a membership enrollment person, and I am so excited. I think it's going to be like 105 degrees at a 7 p.m.
I'm sure.
kickoff, but
Yeah, that's
we
okay.
are going to come in rocking. That sea of red is going to have a lot of green in it.
Oh yeah. As long as we win, that's the most important thing. Win the game.
Yep. I
Yeah.
think going against Elko will be interesting, especially with.
Ayo, today's luck management episode is brought to you by Charm ND, or Charmed, if you'd like to call it, whatever you want to call it. It could be whatever you'd like. So Charm ND is an idea I came up with, and I'm super passionate about it. I've always wanted to hold a piece of Notre Dame in my hand. Highly customizable to whatever you want. And they have the grotto. They have the reflecting pond water from Hesburgh Library. They have 24 karat gold flakes, the dirt from Maine Quad. They have stadium seat shavings from the old seats of Notre Dame. The Notre Dame Stadium football pellets of the enjoyed and loved football team. And if you want to make one customizable, I'm happy to work with you. Go Irish and go Charm ND. Now let's get back to the show.
Leonard being there, and he knows him as his
That's
coach and stuff. But I think that the weapons that we have, where our program is going, and Freeman, I was lucky enough to do the spring game last year, and I got to do the WVFI radio show with Luck Management. We were doing the play-by-play. We had a great time. But after the game, we went down and we sat in his press conference, and he commands a room. And he's young enough to be like at the same level as these players, but he's mature enough to know what greatness is by going to the NFL, by playing for a great program like Ohio State. He converted to Catholicism for us. I mean,
Exactly.
He's our guy.
He's our guy. And he also has re-welcomed or invited back the players of old, that actually were not getting invited back that much. And
I know
they're part of the team now. They're part of the system. They're part of Notre Dame again. And this invigorates everything and everybody and the team itself. So I'm looking for great things for Notre Dame this year and in the future years, as long as we keep it going. So.
I agree. I mean, we have the best recruiting class for this upcoming year right now. And there is this buzz on campus. So I graduated with my master's last year. My dad graduated in '86, and my brother's getting his MBA this year. So he's about to graduate in May. And he and I have been able to talk countless times about this energy around campus. There's this feeling with the new basketball coach. I know we didn't start off too hot, but we're starting to play really quite well. Our lacrosse team is kicking. All of our sports teams, our baseball team is playing well. Our hockey team is one of the best in the country. It feeds off of each other. You get that energy. You get that excitement.
Yeah.
Being on campus. That Golden Dome, it shines brighter every single day.
That's right. I love it. And I'm looking forward to the season. I tell you what, I'm already ready. I'm already ready for this.
Me too.
I just love it. I love football. So, and Mike Luholt, sometimes I wonder which imitates what. Does life imitate football, or does football imitate life?
But it's Notre Dame, they're intertwined, right? There's no difference.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not going to lie. When we're winning our games and we're playing well, I got a little bit of a pep in my step. Life is moving a little bit better when Notre Dame football is doing better.
Yeah. No, I know the feeling. Yeah,
so,
I know the feeling.
We talked about Notre Dame on the football. Oh. We talked a little bit about Notre Dame on the football scene of things. But can you talk to me a little bit about your experience at Notre Dame? You said you were in the engineering program and your time there, and what it's really meant for you in your life past Notre Dame.
Unbelievable. My parents came up. I'm from Birmingham, Alabama, so I grew up in the Roll Tide country.
Nice.
I have a cousin who played football for Alabama, and so I used to, as a kid, go to Alabama games. My father would take me to Alabama. Bear Bryant was the coach, and Alabama back then would have 300 players on their sideline, and there'd be 15 on the Kentucky sideline. So that was the way it was back
Everybody
then.
wanted to go.
Yeah, and that was before scholarship limits, so it's like it was a free for all. But we would go to the games, and I never really, I liked Notre Dame, but I'd never been to a game at Notre Dame. And my parents brought me up there and dropped, when I was a freshman, and stayed for a couple of days during the orientation. And when they left, I was walking across from the parking lot, and I was near the dome, and this priest there's two priests standing there, and one of them motioned up to me and said, "Come here." And I walked over. He said, "You look like you're lost. You must be a freshman." I said, "I am." And he said, "Where are you headed?" And I said, "Well, I was just probably going to go to the dining hall." He said, "Well, my name is Father Ted Hesburgh, and this is Father
No
Joyce,
way.
and we're heading. We're waiting for the dean of freshman year of studies. His name was Emil T. Hoffman, to come, and he's going to join us for dinner. Why don't you have dinner with us?" And I said,
Oh.
"Okay." And so he said, "Where are you from?" I'm from Alabama. He starts telling me about a priest that he knew from Alabama and all this. And so I went to dinner with Father Hesburgh and Father Joyce the first day I was at Notre Dame. He was the first person I
That's
met on campus.
amazing.
Yeah. And
A
so,
legend.
a legend. Yeah. Two legends, really. I mean, three
Two
legends if you count
legends.
Emil T. Hoffman, who became a legend too. But,
And yourself.
but,
Come on.
well, I was just the guy who was like Forrest Gump, just happened to be there. So I, I go to dinner, and then partways through the meal, Father Hesburgh, who was sitting right to my left, turned to me and he said, "Jack, what are you here? You're a freshman. What do you want to accomplish while you're at Notre Dame?" And so
Oh,
I thought,
cool.
I'm gonna try to impress him. I know he's the president of Notre Dame. Let me think. What can I say to impress this man? So I said, Father, I did pretty well in high school, and I got a scholarship to Notre Dame. So um, I want to make all A's at Notre Dame. I want to make all
Good
A's. And
luck.
he said, "Yeah, yeah, good luck." And he said, you know, I thought he was going to say that's my boy. He said, "I wish you wouldn't." And I said,
Wow.
"What?" I said, "What?" And he said, "Look, I'm sure you could if that's what you wanted to do, but he said, there are guys up here who do that. But you know what they're doing? They're sitting in their dorm all night. They're sitting at the library all day and all night.
Wow.
Their heads are stuck in a book." He said, "You're going to do fine, but don't worry. You don't be afraid to mix in a B now and then, because I want you to make sure that you have the Notre Dame experience.
That's
And the
it.
Notre Dame experience is a lot more than making A's. So you'll
Hmm.
do fine. I'm not worried about you, but have the Notre Dame, promise me that you're going to have the Notre Dame experience and you're going to meet people here. These next 4 years are going to change your life. Accept that, embrace it, and embrace Notre Dame." And so I thought about it that night, like that was not what I was expecting him to say. And
No.
so I did, and I might have worked in a B now and then,
Yeah, a
but
little bit
I
here
might
and
might
there.
have I might have. I mean, I was I was asked to do so by Father Hesburgh. He
Yeah.
commanded me
If
to do
anybody
so.
ever gave you any guff, you're like,
I
sorry, Hasberg. Hasberg told
Father
me
Hesburgh
to.
asked me to do this. I'm Go speak with him if you have a problem with it, Professor. But no, he was right. I mean, it was about, and all of us who've been to Notre Dame, we know a lot of people talk about their football team or whatever, and we know, or even their academics, but at Notre Dame, it's both and beyond. It's
Yeah.
it's none of those things really. Uh, yeah, it's important, but there's so much more beyond, and it's about Notre Dame, and we it's why it's why we it's why we love Notre Dame, and why we embrace each other as part of the family.
100%. Since I was born in 1996, I've been a Notre Dame fan. The days of my dad taking me to football games with my jersey going down to my ankles, taking pictures with
Yeah,
the leprechauns, and
there you
walking
go.
around that campus, there is a feel to the campus. And of course, going to school is important, and learning and the education is second to none, but
Absolutely.
it is the walks around the main quad. It is going to see the dome. It is stopping by and going downtown with your friends and experiencing the city of South Bend that loves Notre Dame, and we love them, and how we're connected there. And then you have that mission to bring that forward. He said, "I cried when I left school. I cried when I left school," and I expect my brother to do the same. There's this feeling of confidence that it gives you. There's this feeling of brotherhood, or even if you want to call it sisterhood, where I can reach out to any Notre Dame person and feel connected to them if they
Yeah.
went there, or even if they're a fan. You can't say that about a lot of places.
No. Yeah, Notre Dame is definitely very unique, and there's a brotherhood, there's a sisterhood, there's a family, and
Yeah.
being a part of that is very, 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 very special. I don't know anybody who's ever graduated from there who didn't turn as they were driving away from there down Notre Dame Avenue, didn't turn and look back at the dome, because it is your
Yep.
home and it will always be your home. And you have the opportunity during the 4 years that you're there to live on campus. And that's the only
Yeah.
opportunity you'll ever have, is to live surrounded by that 360 and to feel that. And like you say, it's a beautiful, beautiful place, and people don't know how beautiful it is until they're there. But that's not really it either. It's about the people and the feeling that you get. I mean, even in late at night when it's snowing and it's quiet, and if you just walk across campus and you just hear the snow as you walk through it, there's something magical about it. And being at Notre
Uh,
Dame, and so there's no, there's something about it. And I'll tell you what else. It's a great privilege to go to Notre Dame because I've seen it open so many doors for me. Just the words Notre Dame,
Agreed.
or somebody will spot this ring, or they'll ask, it'll come up, or they'll Google me or something,
Yeah,
and
you're showing it off.
yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, hello, how are you? How are things with you? But I've had people come up to me just because they spotted it across the room, or many, many times in airports, whatever. People will ask me, That's a beautiful ring. Where's it from? I say it's from Notre Dame, and they, oh wow, Notre Dame,
Hmm.
but Notre Dame, and this is worldwide. I mean, I brag about Notre Dame because I went there, but
Same.
it does get people's attention. It will
It sure
definitely get
does.
people's attention. Having gone to Notre Dame, and it's not a big school. Like there's a small percentage of the human population that went to Notre Dame.
Yep.
We're
Good
very
or
fortunate.
bad, you will get a reaction.
You'll get a reaction. Yeah, believe me, you will get a reaction.
And that speaks to our fan base and the people that respect and love Notre Dame, because in a world where there's so much wrong going on, you go to that business school, it's grow the good in business.
Yeah,
And what are you doing day in and day out to make a difference for people? It
yeah,
doesn't matter how much money you make. There are people that are doing things that are literally taking people's lives and changing them for the better. And I'm just thankful to be around people like that. Like you said, you are who you surround yourself with. And I am grateful to be surrounded by great people.
yeah. Well, we're grateful because we're grateful to have people like you. And we're grateful to have been completely surrounded by people like the Notre Dame family.
Yeah.
And this too. Once you graduate, you're still part of the place. You are always
Oh,
part of the
yeah.
place, and you will always be accepted as part of the place. So it's wonderful.
Hey, speaking of, I
Yeah,
two things. So
yeah,
I'm trying to start this thing for luck management. Next year I'm going to start it. I'm going to have a tailgate during the football season,
good.
and I'm going to
Mm,
invite all the guests there. And most of them, almost 95%, have been Notre Dame people. And you use it as a networking event, and like how Notre Dame
yeah.
changed you and how you come together. So I will get those details to you and everybody that's listening, all the luckies out there, I call them.
Oh,
You get
absolutely. Yeah,
to you
good.
get
That'd
to
be
be a
fun.
part of this moment. And then the second thing is I started a small business outside of this. So I have my podcast, but I have a business called Charm ND.
Hmm.
And what I've done is I've gone around campus and I have soil from the main quad. I have AstroTurf from the football field. I have old wood shavings from this old stadium seats that were in the stadium. I
Mm-hmm.
have like 24 karat gold from the actual dome when they did the regilding process. And
Nice.
I have like little helmets too that are painted with the same gold they use on the football helmets.
Great.
And I put that into charms. I put that into little keychains, earrings, things like that, because there is something about this campus and that this tradition, and I'm able to support and give back to Notre Dame or give people that feel of the Irish,
Mm-hmm.
which I love.
That is incredible. You know what I have? You reminded me when you said the terrestrial turf. I actually had some. Actually, got some sod, some of the grass because it was just in
No
clumps back
way.
then when it was a real field from the 1988 Notre Dame Miami game. Um,
No way.
right at the end of that game, I was young enough then to run onto the field, and the stadium was set up so that you could do it. And there were just clumps of dirt everywhere, and I picked up a big one and brought it home, and planted
Yeah.
it, and it grew. So it's still
That's
there.
amazing. You got a piece
Yeah,
of history right
yeah,
there.
got a piece of that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I mean, that game out of its mind. I mean, I'm waiting for it, but moving a little bit
Yeah.
deeper into after Notre Dame and your career. I'd
Hmm.
love to hear about you. You have so many great stories, but just hearing how you wrote this book about your father and the amazing story that it embodies. Can you talk to me a little bit about that process?
Yeah, I had a period I was in Los Angeles. I lived in Los Angeles. I was from Alabama, and then I ended up moving to Los Angeles. I was out there for about 16 years, and I I had some friends over one night, and I had them over to thank them for just being my friends and for being close to me and being, good people. And
Right.
because I think we have to cherish the good things. Like I think I saw a thing where Anne Frank, I think it was Anne Frank, who said, dead people get more flowers than living people because regret is stronger than gratitude. And we need to be
Wow.
grateful for the people in our lives right now as opposed to waiting.
So
So,
truly.
and it's not always easy to do because we just get so accustomed to each other. We take it for granted. But I had a group of friends and I said, you know what? Everybody's been so great. And it had been kind of a tough year and a half for me. And I said, I'm going to get everybody together,
Uh-huh.
thank them. So I did. And at the end, I was standing next to um, a bookcase, and on the bookcase was a, a photograph of my father. And I don't know if you could see it. It's the photograph. Let me see if I could turn this a little bit. It's the photograph right back there, right back there. This photograph here, and it was the. Uh, uh, and so somebody asked me this, like, did your father was he in World War II? I said, yeah, he was in uniform and he was in World War II. And they said, well, you should. They asked me about what did he do. I said, wait, the first beach my father ever saw was Omaha Beach. He was a son of
Oh my
immigrants,
gosh.
and he went off to war when he was 18, had never been away from home, landed at Omaha Beach, was there when General Patton gave his big speech, and he did this. He was in the Battle of the Bulge. He was in here, and this battle, and that battle, and that battle. And
Wow.
at the very end of the war, he and about 200 people, 200 of his buddies, liberated this concentration camp called Dachau. And I had pictures. He took pictures. And so
Oh my
I was showing them the pictures, and someone said, "Oh, you should write a book." I said, "Well, I've never written a book. I've read a book, but
I have read one, but I
I've read a
don't
book. How
write
hard could it be?"
one.
So I thought, nah. In my infinite wisdom, I said, "No, I'm not writing a book. So it's too much work. It's just too much work. It
Yeah.
just seems like a lot of work. You don't get paid, and I'll do it, but somebody's gonna have to pay me to write the. I like living indoors. I like
Yeah, it's
eating.
nice where I am. I don't want to revisit World War II. We're good.
I don't. I'm fine. I don't want to. And so uh, everybody. So I called my father and I said, my friends were here. They think I should write a book about you. He said, yeah, you should. I said, well, he said
I've
that'd be
been
a great
waiting all
book.
my life.
Yeah, what's wrong with you? What's the whole? He said, he said this would be a great book and it'd be a great movie. I said, I know, but let me see what I can do. So I did some research, and all the research, Carter, was that in order to write a book, in order to have a book published, you need to have an agent.
Mm.
Okay, an agent will get you the publisher. You're not
Yeah.
going to get a publisher without one. I said, okay. So I started going around Los Angeles and then making phone calls to New York, trying to find a literary agent. And they say, most of them wouldn't even talk to me. Most of them wouldn't even answer my calls or return a call or talk to me. I remember one of them, I went up and
Hmm.
their offices a lot of times have, locks, and you have to talk through a microphone, through a intercom
Yeah.
thing. And then they
You got to
decide if
find
you're
the
worthy.
gatekeeper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so some of them wouldn't even let me in. I was walking around, like, please, I need an agent. Why? I have this book about war. Click. It's like, so, so anyway, the ones who did talk to me told me the following. They said, look, you want to write a book about your father. Have you written the book? I said, no, I haven't written it, but I want to. They said,
Ayo, this episode is sponsored and brought to you by CharmND. CharmND specializes in creating unique and authentic sterling silver vials and real items from around the Notre Dame campus. Each charm is carefully handmade and contains a little piece of the Fighting Irish spirit. Vials filled with dirt from the iconic main quad, pellets from the hollowed ground of the Notre Dame football stadium, wood shavings from the seats of the stadium, 24-karat golds from the Notre Dame football helmets, water from the serene St. Joseph's Lake, candle wax from the peaceful grotto, water from the Notre Dame reflecting pond, and holy water for added blessings. Charms are priced at between $20 and $30 and can be customized to your needs as a necklace or a lucky charm. Check us out at charm_ND at Instagram. Our charms are a perfect gift for any Notre Dame fan or alum. So go CharmND and go Irish. Now let's get back to the show.
Well, first of all, you could write it, but nobody's going to buy it. Nobody's going to publish it. Nobody's going to read it. We've heard every story about World War II. And I said, no, you haven't
heard this
You
one?
haven't heard this one. And they said, yeah, we have. And so I told them, if I can, I'll tell you, I told them a story within a story. So I told them, I said, look, here's the story. I said, I gave a speech in Vienna a few years ago, a few years before I went looking for an agent. And the speech I gave was actually about physics, because I have an engineering degree, and I had done some research on the Shroud of Turin. And so I'd done this scientific research, and I was invited there to Turin to do the research. And so I said, I'd done this research, and I was asked to give a speech in Vienna, and the people who invited me there was the royal family. It was the Liechtensteins, the Luxembourgs, the Habsburgs, and the Contessa from Spain, all these people, and we all stayed in the castle for almost a week. I gave them my talk, which was 2 hours, and the rest of the time, I don't know what we did, but we walked around. And
you're hanging in the palace.
I'm hanging in the palace. I don't care what we're doing. It's like, let's just hang out. So, I guarantee you.
Just quickly, I have relatives from Liechtenstein. So I'm German, and I have
Really?
Austrian and Liechtenstein, and oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Prince Nicholas von Liechtenstein is my buddy. He's my buddy. So he was actually translating. So I was standing next to him when this guy walked in the room, and everybody deferred to this gentleman, who's this older gentleman who walked in. He had a handlebar mustache, he had a gray hair and 3-piece suit. And when he walked in, everybody went up to him. Margareta Luxemburg, everybody. And I asked Nicholas von Liechtenstein, I said, Nicky, who's that? He said, oh, I got to go. That's Georg von Hohenberg. His grandfather was the Archduke Ferdinand.
Oh,
so he went up to him and greeted him. And so I went up to him and greeted him, and hello. He said, hello. So after my talk, the Archduke Ferdinand, the grandson of the Archduke Ferdinand, who was in his 70s, he came up to me. He said, and he just retired from being the ambassador from Austria to the Vatican. He came up to me and he said, oh, Jack, I really enjoyed your talk and blah, blah, and this is great. And we have to spend some time together this week. And I said, that's great. I said, can I ask you, though, I just need to ask you something. What can I call you? He said, call me Georg. I said, no, I'm not calling you. No, I can't call you Georg, because his grandfather would have been the emperor, and he would have been the emperor had his grandfather not been assassinated. This man would have been the emperor. So I said, no, I'm not calling you Georg. And I said, what if I call you Mr. Ambassador? He said, that's fine. So the whole week I was talking to him about his grandparents and their assassination in Sarajevo. They started World War I. He was telling me stories. Oh, my grandfather once spoke with Rasputin and met Rasputin at a party. And I said, well, there was a piano there. They had me sit down and play the piano one night for all the royals. And they said, oh, there's only the man who made this piano. He only made 2 of those. This one and the other one was given to the Romanov family. I said,
okay. So, and then you're like, wait.
Okay. So anyway, it was that type of week. And at the very end of the week, we were sitting around the courtyard, and Margareta Luxemburg, Nicholas von Liechtenstein, his whole group, we were sitting around, Contessa, and I was, and they were all just chatting and talking, saying, you have to come visit us sometime, and why don't you come here and you can write here in the castle if you need to take a few months and do some writing. So I love
You're
that.
like, I'm
And
packing my bags.
I'm
I'm
just,
ready.
why leave? I'm already here. Just stay here.
Yeah.
So, uh, the ambassador said, I said, Mr. Ambassador, he said, yes. I said, you've been so patient with me all week, and I've been asking you questions about your grandfather, your grandmother, and all these figures from history. And by the way, Carter,
Hmm.
as you know, if you're ever around somebody with that connection to history, listen to every word they say, every movement that they make,
Yeah.
watch it because they're part of history. So I always said, you've been
You
so
can
patient with
feel it.
me.
Yeah.
You could feel it. So I said, and you were, everywhere, we went to the ballet. He was talking to me about this taste of, all this stuff. I said, so thank you for spending so much time with me. I said, but I, I never asked you anything about your father. And I said, tell me
Yeah.
something. I don't know why I even asked. I said, tell me something about your own father. And of all the things he could have told me, he said, my father, during World War II, my father was a prisoner at the concentration camp of Dachau. And I said, do you
No
know anything
way.
about the liberation of Dachau? He said, yes, Sunday morning, April 29th, 1945. The Americans liberated the
He had
camp.
it
I said,
right
you know what?
ready. Yeah.
I said, there were about 200 or so Americans who liberated that camp that morning. And he said, I'm well aware of that. I said, well, my father was one of them. And when I said that,
Whoa.
he straightened up in his chair. He stood up. And then when he stood up, Princess Margareta Luxemburg stood up, and Prince Nicholas von Liechtenstein stood up, and the Contessa of Spain stood up, and all these other dukes and earls and people stood up. I didn't know what was
You're
happening,
like,
so
should I stand up?
I stood up. I said, something just happened. I'm apparently not aware of what it was, but I'm standing. I stood up, and he walked across and walked up to me. They all watched, and he embraced me, and he said to me, please convey to your father my family's most sincere gratitude." And so
Oh my
I
God.
realized, oh my God, I thought everybody's father had landed at Omaha Beach. I thought everybody's father liberated a concentration camp. This was a big deal, apparently. So the reason I said story within a story, I was telling these agents that. I said, this is kind of a big deal. I mean, this was not your normal story of World War II. This is a farm boy from Alabama who went
Hmm.
over and liberated thousands upon thousands of people who would have died 24 hours later. And anyway, the agents then said to me,
Wow.
nah, nobody cares. Nobody cares.
No way.
Yeah.
No way did
So,
that happen.
yeah, everything. He said, nobody cares. So I said, you know what? This went on for a couple of months, and I was getting depressed. It's like, what's wrong with me? And then I realized one day something very interesting. I came up with a few principles. One of them was this. Number one, I will never ask for permission to succeed. And I realized I was asking these guys for permission. I was asking these
Yeah.
guys who didn't know me for whether or not I could write a book about my father and have it published. And they were saying, no, you can't. And I was saying, okay, no. And I realized I'm never going to ask for permission to succeed.
Yeah.
The
Who
other
are
thing I
they to say,
realized,
right?
who are they? My father didn't ask for permission to land at Omaha Beach. He didn't ask for permission to
Yeah.
take over all these towns. He didn't ask for permission to liberate the concentration camp. He just did it. If he'd asked for permission,
You
they'd still
have to
be waiting.
just do it.
Do it.
Wow.
And so the other thing I realized was wisdom is not so much in the answer as it is in asking the right question. If you ask the wrong question, you'll always get the wrong answer. Like,
Right.
for example, if you said, why can't I get my business going? Why can't I start doing this? Why can't I get people to do this? Why can't I do? Well, your brain is a problem solving machine. That's all God designed it to solve problems. It solves problems in your body all day. It regulates your temperature, your breathing. It's presented with problem over and over, and it solves them. That's all it knows how to do. So when you ask it a question, it's going to try to give you an answer. But if you ask it a bad question, why can't I do this? Well, your brain is going to run out of good answers, and it's going to finally give you the answer, well, you must be a schmuck. Maybe you're a moron.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something wrong with
Yeah.
you. So that's the wrong answer
you
because
don't have it. Right.
you don't have it. You're a failure. You're not like everybody else. So you got to ask the right question. So I realized I was asking, how do I find an agent? And the question was, how do I find a publisher? That's what I really needed, the publisher. And so I
Yeah.
asked myself that honestly, and your brain works. And this might sound dumb, but people need to realize this. If you ask that question, you can just go to sleep. Your brain's still going to be trying to figure out the answer to it. You can honestly go to
Mm-hmm.
sleep. And the next morning I woke up and I realized, oh my God, I have a friend who's written about 10 books and had them all published. And
All
why
this
don't I
time.
ask? Yeah, I'm looking for an agent. And why don't I just ask him? He lives out in New York. So let me ask him, what his advice is. So I called him up and I said, look, I have this book about my father. I've written 2 chapters at this point. I have an outline. And he said, look, I'll tell you what, if it's good, he said, I have a lot of people coming to me for help, but if it's good, I'll help you. But if it's not good,
Nice.
I won't help you. If I don't like it, I won't help you. And I thought, that's fair enough. That's fair. You got to put out a good
There.
product.
Yeah.
So, I thought, well, he said, can you send me what you have? I said, yeah. So I sent it. Within 10 minutes, my phone rang. He said, my God, this is a gold mine. I had no idea any
No
of this would
way.
happen to your family. This is your father, and the way you wrote it this is it. He said, what are you looking for? I said, a publisher. He said, are you looking for an agent? I said, no, I'm looking for a publisher.
I don't need that. I've been there.
I don't need it. I'm not going through the agent thing. So he said, well, I'm having lunch. This was like on a Tuesday or Wednesday. He said, I'm having lunch on Friday with my publisher at HarperCollins. Is it okay if I give them a copy of what you sent me? So I thought about it for a nanosecond and said, okay, yeah, give them a copy of what I sent you. So I did. HarperCollins called me up and said, we really like this. Have you finished the book? I said, no. They said, what's it going to take for you to finish? I said, a contract. So they said, we'll call you in 10 days. They called me 10 days later and they said, we would like to publish your book. And it was like it's one of the top, I think, 5 publishers in the world. And so they published my book. Immediately I started getting calls from all these agents that wouldn't talk to me before. Like, I heard you got a deal
They
with
want you
HarperCollins. Let me
now,
help
right?
you. Yeah, didn't believe in it
They're
before.
looking
No
for
thanks.
you.
Didn't need you. There you go. So
How
part of
the
that, and
tides have
I told
turned.
I've told this story to Lou Nani and other guys up at Notre Dame. Say, honest to God, I mean, people may not believe this, but Notre Dame helped me through that process because I was thinking, I'm a Notre Dame man. I'm going to strive for victory.
Yeah.
I'm going to strive for what I want because what I want is something good. I want to honor my father. I want to do so. I want people to know his story and what he accomplished. And so, I was fortunate enough for that to happen. And so, that's the story of the book. And so the book immediately came out. The book went to #1 on Amazon. The book was nominated for the Pulitzer. The book now has sold, I think, 400,000 copies. It's on paperback, hardcover,
Fantastic.
ebook. It's now being HarperCollins are now putting it into a audio book. We're working on the movie of it now, and never ask for permission to succeed.
Oh
You
my
want to do
goodness.
something, do it.
And the fact that you are able to honor your parents and honor your father and the work that he did, that shares with somebody. There are hundreds of thousands of, family members and people. Everyone loves hearing about World War II and our work there, but like that you had a profound impact on that allowed them to understand the story of what they had to go through and how they got there. I said,
Yeah.
wow, maybe 50 times during that story. I am personally just like blown away by that ability of first, you know what? You didn't get lucky for a long time, but you know what? You made your own luck. You said, I have this friend, I have this person I can go to. And then you worked hard to get it to the point that you needed to with one of the top 5 publishing companies in the world. You made your own luck. You made that opportunity be shared for a story that now hundreds of thousands of people want to be a part of. That is luck management in a nutshell.
That's it. And one of the greatest things for me in that story is not what I accomplished, because people have told me oh, you've done something great for your father.
Yeah.
Well, I look at it the other way around. I think he did something great for me. Um, I think, I told him once because we had a book, the first ever book signing, and there were some survivors there who had been liberated the day he liberated the camp, and they were hugging him. They were crying. He teared up.
Hmm.
People in the audience were crying. And afterwards, I told him, I said, my opinion is when you when you walk through that gate, you not only liberated them, you liberated me because he gave me that story.
Wow.
And the greatest
Wow.
thing for me ever was to be able to travel around the country with him. Are you there? Are we there?
Yeah.
The
Yes. Yes.
greatest,
Sorry.
okay, the greatest feeling for me in the whole adventure of the book was traveling around the country with him, speaking at universities, Holocaust museums, libraries,
Hmm.
auditoriums just full of hundreds of people, and to be able to tell the story of how the book came about and some of the things that happened in it, but then to introduce my father as a member of the greatest generation, the man who is sitting right here.
Hmm.
And inevitably, they would give him standing ovations, prolonged standing ovations. And to me, nothing will ever equal that, seeing that honor
No.
given to my father by all these people, you know.
No. And
So
and that's how
to
you
me, that was the
embody it.
best
That's
part.
how you live on, right? Like that amazing things that he's done. It's probably pushed you to want to do amazing things and share
It
and
is.
give to people. It's not a stagnant thing. It's like we take the lessons we learn from our family and we try and give that forward. And you've moved that
That's right.
forward. Oh, that honor there that you have. And that,
Thank you.
that blows my mind. I can't wait. I've watched, a few videos on it, but I'm going to get the book and I can't wait to read it. And I totally think that everybody should take a look at this book.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Appreciate you saying that.
Yeah. Now we're coming up on an hour, so I wanted to shift and ask a few questions that I like to ask on this podcast, some core
Okay.
questions to luck
Core
management.
questions. There we go. Okay.
Oh, but oh, I don't even know how I switched from that. But in your life, if you could describe it so far, I know you have much more to go, but can you describe your life in 5 words?
If we don't start winning championships, I don't know how much further I have to go. But
I know the
but
stress.
yeah, a few more years of Brian Kelly, I would have been done. So, but anyway, go ahead.
Oh
That's
yeah.
beside the point. Okay, go ahead. I'm
So,
sorry. Ask your question.
any 5 words or five adjectives that kind of come up to
Oh,
you that would describe who you are in your life?
I think it's who I've become. And I think if I were if I were to boil it down to 5 words, I would say, let me see, how many words is this? Time is the ultimate gift. Time.
Oh my,
I've come
yep.
to really appreciate
Time.
time. And when COVID came up, I realized, man, I'm not wasting my time with people who irritate me and people who bring me down. And I know this is beyond 5 words, but I was, I was out when I was in Los Angeles, I would walk out at the beach sometimes, and there was this place called Venice Beach where Schwarzenegger and
Yeah,
those guys would
beautiful
work
out
out.
there.
And I noticed these guys were very strong, but no matter how strong anybody was, they could not take their belt buckle and lift themselves off the ground. Nobody can,
Yeah.
but we can lift each other,
Hmm.
you know. And so be around people who are
Oh,
willing to
that's
lift
amazing.
you, and be around people who you don't mind lifting, who are not going to harm you along the way. So I realize time is very valuable. None of us know how much we have. It'd be like a bank account somebody gave you when you were born. You can spend it any way you like. You don't know how much is in it.
Hmm.
Nobody can give you any more once you spend it all. That's time. That's not the way it is with money, but that is the way it is with time. So be very,
Yeah.
time is the ultimate gift. We have it. We're
Yeah.
on earth. We're blessed to be here, and we're blessed to be here with each other. So use it
Oh
wisely.
my gosh. You truly embody that. And if there's one saying that I love, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go with your family, go with friends. It
Yeah,
makes a massive,
absolutely.
massive
Yeah.
difference. Can't do it alone.
Difference.
So shifting into that a little bit more, I mean, you've given such great advice, but if you could give any advice to the listeners, we have a lot of young listeners, we have a lot of people in
Hmm.
business, we have a lot of people that are trying to build their world. What piece of
Hmm.
advice maybe that you got or that you think would be helpful for people to be their best selves?
Well, one of them is what I went by before, and I tell this to young people all the time. Do not ask for permission to succeed.
Yep,
Think of
yep,
something good,
that's a great one.
have a goal in mind, and another thing, some other advice I give people is be compassionate with yourself. We give ourselves such a hard
Mm.
time. I've been accused of it. I give myself a hard time. Like, but be compassionate. It's almost easier to be compassionate with somebody else than it is with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, give yourself a break now and
True.
then. Like, just let it be, and give yourself a break. Um,
I love
I
that.
noticed that. Yeah, I noticed that. E- this is something that's really difficult for people, but I've seen it play out in my life, and I've seen it play out in people around me. And it's something that, if you think about it, it's very true. Our blind spot, we all have blind spots, but our
We
blind
do.
spot is almost always the same size as our ego. So
Yeah.
if you're really, and ego doesn't mean, humility doesn't mean you hate yourself, or it doesn't mean that. It's just to know the truth about yourself. But so many people, and I guess if I deal with a Hollywood crowd, they get so wrapped up in their ego that it becomes their blind spot, and then they fall into these traps. And so, I think that's what's one of the great things too about having a family, a community of people who
Yeah.
who sort of don't they I use the phrase keep you grounded. It's not that they say bad things
Yep.
to you or anything. They actually keep you lifted so that you're not going through these valleys and peaks and all this. You're more grounded. You're more stable. You're more stable. So surround yourself with the right people. And sometimes you have to cut a few people loose, unfortunately. Some people just are,
Yeah.
sometimes, some people you got to
Be
cut them
afraid
loose.
to cut. Yeah. Be ready to cut
Sometimes you got to
and
cut
and
people.
understand. I think one thing that kind of comes out of that is so many people try and hold on to things at times. You know, there are seasons in your life. There are changes that are going to happen. You have to be able to embrace that change and allow it to come forth. And it may be hard, but I think that the best moments come out of those tough times. So, I
Life is always
completely
about
agree.
movement. It's almost like you're riding a bike, and you're riding a bike through this area, and through these different landscapes, and there's sunsets and sunrises, but you're always moving. And like I said before, you don't know when your bike ride is going to end or anybody else. But some people you're
Hmm.
able to get close to them, and they go ride along with you, and you ride as a group. And
Yeah, tail.
but it's always yeah, it's always changing, it's always moving, and there's people that come and go, and our families are. One of the toughest things ever was when my father died, and
Yeah.
it was really upsetting to me. You know what healed me really? Going to Notre Dame. I went back to campus after a few months,
Wow.
and I went up there and just spent a week and really didn't even talk to anybody. I just walked around campus and had a place to stay and just would walk around campus
Go to
every
the
day and just sit. And
grotto,
that
make
place
some
healed me.
prayers. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Just listen. Go
fantastic.
back home.
Um, and the last thing I have to ask you before we end this spectacular episode is, are you lucky?
Spectacular. I'm very lucky. You know what? This is true. My mother always said this. She said, if my mother would say, if you tripped outside of Buckingham Palace, the Queen would somehow be there to lift you up and say, "Come on in and have some tea." And so stuff like that just happens to me. I don't know. I'm like Forrest Gump. The first person I meet on campus is Father Hesburgh, and he invites me to dinner. And this type of stuff has happened to me throughout my life. And almost every story. And you're right at the beginning. You said you have a lot of stories. I have a lot of stories. Almost every one of them begins with, "I was just minding my own business, and the phone
That's
rang,
how it goes.
and such and such." and all these things seem to happen to me, and I tend to be in all these situations and these people. My father was sort of the same way, being, with General Patton and at the front lines of
Hmm.
all these battles during World War II, and my it's just sort of in the family. But I think I consider myself very fortunate, in that beyond that, I think, how do I say this? I think God gave me a very happy soul. He made me a very happy
Love it.
person. So I
Hmm.
find happiness in things and in people and little tiny things, that are not spectacular, but I just find a lot of happiness in life and things like, I get happy just thinking about being on campus,
Yeah.
just little
Hey,
tiny things that are just make me happy.
well, truly, sonder on, right? I've always been a sonderer, where you go and you're amazed by the little things of life, and you are lucky, but you are lucky because you did something with those opportunities. You did something with those moments, and you're doing fantastic things for so many people. Jack, I
Thank you.
can't thank you enough for being a part of Luck Management. You embody it, and I really appreciate
Thank you.
you being able to be here and share these stories.
It's my pleasure. I'm really honored that you asked me to join you, and look forward to seeing you again, and look forward to seeing you at the tailgate.
Yeah. So would you please just give the title of your book, where you can find it, if there's any details around the movie coming out so that everybody can check it out and see it, and then we'll close off here.
Yes, yes. Let's see. Hold on a second. This is let me. I'm gonna have to go out of frame a little bit here, but I'll show you
All good.
actually the cover of the book. This is the book. It's called Where the Birds Never Sing. That's a picture of
Awesome.
my father that was sitting beside me when people asked me about it, and that's where the book was born that night. But it's called Where the Birds Never Sing. People can get it on Amazon, and they get it in any format they like. And we are working right now, putting together all the resources for the movie, and it's going to be a really good movie. So, what was the other
I
part of
can't
the
wait to
question?
see it.
Yeah. So
No,
that was
no,
it.
that's
Yeah.
that's perfect. Um,
Good.
well, this has been fantastic, and you can find us on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. And as always, keep living the luck management lifestyle. Peace.